Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. I've got a fantastic guest for you today, Mark Murphy, and he's got a very interesting background. He's here to talk about entrepreneurship for the audience out there. And he's got a book, The Ultimate Investment, a roadmap to grow your business and build multi-generation wealth, available at most outlets. And I'm really happy to have him on the show to inspire and educate the audience. So, Mark, welcome.
Thank you so much, Chris. We appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I know we had connected through through mutual contacts and kind of set the stage and talk about your background. You've got a really enthusiastic energy about you and the work that you're doing now.
Well, I just think at the end of the day, this was just always, when I started my company, now it's 38 years ago, this was my vehicle to make the lives of all the people I touch better. This was I always feel at my best when I'm serving others. And so this was the great vehicle and the outlet for me to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so we'll kind of dive right into to the topics of conversation. And one thing I love is ikigai, and kind of in your circle, my circle, we know what ikigai is, but some listeners may not know it. So kind of talk about what is ikigai and kind of passing the test and to know if you're in the right place.
It was actually brought to my attention a few years ago by a business partner and a dear friend of mine, Bernie Stoltz, and it just made so much sense of how to look at a decision through a prism of, is it something I'm passionate about? I think the four questions are: is it something I'm passionate about? Is it something I'm good at? Does the world need that product or service? And can I get paid to do that? And I think if it's not a yes, but a hell yeah to all four of those questions, I generally don't do it myself, or I certainly don't advise people to go do it. I just think it just is great wisdom. And I think that, having that filter kind of gives you a scale to kind of judge whether the idea has merit or not. And that's one of many, but one of the best prisms to kind of judge things through. Tell me in your world, tell me about how you became aware of of the meaning of ikigai.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because, we're all taught, like, I'm Gen X, I'm kind of Gen X millennial. So our generation got screwed in 2008, and everything we had learned about society and the way things were went down the drain in 2008. So from there, I learned not to trust governments and corporations, and kind of you have to find your own way. So kind of talk about your passion, and now there's so many different ways. Now you don't have to become a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist. You don't have to be an accountant. You can be an entrepreneur. You can be an investor. You can influence people. The barriers are much lower. So kind of these things about passion and getting paid to do it, making a difference, and your skill set. So the next question is this idea. I love this idea, and it's always talking about, because I'm big into goal setting, and you have this who, not how approach. Talk about how to shift your mindset.
This was how we run our business for 38 years. But there was a book that had come out with Dan Sullivan was one of the authors of it, and it put into words exactly how we did our business and how we put it together. And obviously we put our own spin on it as well. But the question that people asked me probably 10,000 times, maybe 20,000 times, it's wrapped up in one of these questions, Christopher. It's: how do I grow my income? How do I grow my business? How do I grow my freedom of time to have more time with the people I love or want to be with? How do I grow my freedom of purpose? It's wrapped in one of the freedoms. And ultimately, I always thought that was the wrong question. I always thought the right question was: who do I need to collaborate with to grow my business, grow my income, grow my freedom of time, freedom of relationships, freedom of purpose? So, and then ultimately, what we built a business on is, I decided many decades ago I wanted to be a hero to entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial thinking people. And what I've tried to do is collaborate with people that wanted to be a hero to the same group. And immediately people saw the entrepreneurial synergy and mindset where they could only get that experience by working, with us. And so, I've heard people say, they used to say, I'd like to have I just want a level playing field. Or they'd say, no, I used to then say, no, I don't want a level playing field. I want to run straight downhill. And then I thought that was stupid. And then I thought, that's not good enough. What I want to do is I want to play in a competition-free zone where the only place that customer, client, patient can get that experience is by working with our firm. And I want to have everybody we work with create the same competition-free zone for themselves. I don't know about you. Do you, I really don't believe in competition. I believe in differentiation. You try to work every day to differentiate yourself from everybody else in the marketplace. Does that ring true to you, or how do you think about that?
Well, I love that because, med school and, residency, we're all competing for, it's almost like a rat race. And what I learned from that was to create your own niche. So, become a category of one. So I don't have to compete against, other people. I just create my own category, and I thrive and I flourish in that, create an audience, build a community. And that way I don't have to, worry about, X, Y, and Z. Which I really love this idea. You talk about who, and then what was interesting is, as I became on my journey towards entrepreneurship, was this idea that I noticed that at first I used to really get bothered by haters and, the trolls, but then I realized that I look at them a year later and they haven't gone anywhere. And you can actually build your own table and choose your inner circle wisely. And so kind of talk about how you can create your own mastermind everybody has a different mastermind. So you can create your own reality to succeed.
Well, first of all, I think that, the interesting thing is that, people have things in their life. They're angry at a family member, or they have a disagreement with a business partner, or they get divorced, or those sorts of things. Or, that for some reason, even in this country, there's a lot of hate. Conservatives hate liberals and liberals hate conservatives, and blue states, red states, and what's going on in Israel and Gaza. There's just an awful lot of hate. And the only thing that I realized is it takes an awful lot of energy to be angry. And it's usually not very productive energy. It takes an awful lot of energy to do that. And so I think if you really want to piss off the people you're annoyed at, just be nice to them. That'll really tick them off if you're nice to them. And I think that, part of it is one of the most important things. It's emotional fitness. Because too many people, I think the reason why most people do not even touch their capability or their purpose or get to their highest potential is because they let things like like anger, distract them from what they're focused and what they need to do. Like one of the things I would hear all the time, like in politics, they go, if Donald Trump gets reelected, the world is coming to an end. If Joe Biden gets reelected, the world is coming to an end. And I keep thinking to him, I said, hey, Joe, that you've been in business, 40 years. I go, you made money during Reagan, you made money during Bush, you made money during Clinton, and then the second Bush, Obama, and then Trump, and now Biden. I go, what are you talking about? Meaning, why are you consumed by this, or why are you distracted by this anger or this hate to this person? I don't understand that. I think it's, I think it's actually the opposite, in that what you need to do is you need to pour into people. And I'm talking about, Christopher, not for like a few months or even a year or years. I'm talking about for decades, pouring into people and serving others. And I think when you pour into people, what happens is, one, it feels amazing because you're able to support and help people. At least for me, it does. But over decades, you build up an army of people that want to help you. And you do it not because you're expecting something back, but you did it because, there's no right way to do the wrong thing. And when you do the right thing, it's amazing how wonderful things just start to happen for you.
Yeah, and so powerful. And also, to add on to what you were saying was everybody, you're trying to achieve some goal. It could be Olympic gold or, a celebrity actress, it could be a business, multi-million-dollar business or some level of success. And usually what I realize is that you have to seek people that are doing the same thing as you because they've done it and they can show you the path and the way. And then the people that are saying it can't be done or it's impossible, they're saying that because they're coming from a place where they've never done it. So you have to listen to the people that are, actively doing the work, such as yourself. So I love this idea of pouring.
And I think entrepreneurs just have to think differently. Entrepreneurs drive this world, drive this economy. All the abundance in the world has come from entrepreneurs. And one of the reasons I'm so passionate about helping entrepreneurs is I think they're under attack. There are people that started with nothing that you feel guilty because they worked their what off to create this abundance, not only for themselves, but everybody in their world. And they should somehow feel guilty that they've been privileged or something like that. And I think that ultimately, one of the things I think that, it's all about mindset. Everything is mindset. It's all, I say it's all BS, belief systems, all BS in the world. And I just don't understand how people cannot cultivate that growth mindset. It makes, it seems to me that some people are just so stuck in where they are. I think that people would love to be uplifted. I think people are generally good. I just don't think that they have a path or they have a belief that they can do it. I would say that the number one thing you must help people with is confidence. The number one thing, I think, a goal of an entrepreneurial mindset is to protect his or her confidence. And not allow other people to affect how you think about yourself. Entrepreneurs aren't worried about losing money or about making a mistake or taking risk or doing any of those other things. So I just think they're a class into themselves, and I think they need to be nurtured and grown because that's the future of this world.
Yeah. I love that. And kind of shifting over, because, you're in the finance space. So we'll talk about, investments and wealth. And you talk about what I'm really interested in, this idea of paychecks versus playchecks. What is that? And kind of talk about in
multi-generational wealth, the pyramid. And at the bottom, I think the number one reason why people don't succeed is they don't have cash confidence. Meaning you must start with cash confidence. The number one reason why people fail is they run out of money. And so all I can tell you is, though, that I have made not almost, but a great deal of my wealth when I had money and somebody else needed money, where there was an opportunity and I had the cash to take advantage of it. Conversely, when I've had emergencies, we have a bad quarter, we have a bad year, something doesn't work out perfectly, it's taking a little longer, a little more expensive, I had the cash confidence behind me so that I could make good long-term decisions and withstand that downturn. So for both opportunities and emergencies, you got to start with cash confidence. I think the second level is, I believe that if you have a business or you are the business, you need to feed your money machine. That if you only had $1 to invest, entrepreneurs need to invest that $1 in themselves. They need to create that into their business or some other operating company or into their entrepreneurial ability. And then I think the next level of the pyramid is that there's really only two asset classes for our as a wealth manager, there's dozens and dozens of asset classes. But for our purpose, there's two. There's paychecks and either free capital or playchecks. And so what you want to do is create a series of assets that will give you a guaranteed or highly reliable stream of income to replace your income. I'll call those paychecks. And if you've got another stream of assets where you can save it, you can spend it, you can give it away. But the important thing is it will not be responsible for producing income for your family. And if you have both paychecks and playchecks, that's financial freedom. But I think there's still one more level. If you can have earned income from an operating company beyond normal retirement age, so that when your friends, when they get into their late 50s or 60s or 70s or 80s and are worried about living too long, or they're worried about running out of money or going to the early bird special or doing all these scarcity kinds of things, those people are net savers in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And it allows that, and that's how they create multi-generational wealth. They're not trying to have a spend down plan to not run out of money. They're trying to have an abundance plan. And by the way, the technology is out there for every single person at every income level. And the thing that I find, Christopher, I don't know about you, is I find that people that have just enough are the most selfish people in the entire world. And they are because they have just enough for themselves. They have no extra to give. And we know that people that can create great deals of wealth can create abundance for everybody else.
I love that. It's shifting from scarcity, to abundance. And I was reading an article the other day saying the greatest fear of people in retirement is running out of money, because they're going to live to 100, and they if they're dependent on Social Security, they're SOL, or even even like $1 million 401k. If you live on 30,000 a year, that's not going to do much for you in today's climate. So I love this paycheck, playcheck. I love that. The other thing is this, what is a transformational versus transactional investment? What is that?
Well, I would say that most of the time that people are transactional. We're just doing trades. It's a quid pro quo. I'm going to do this for you. You're going to do that for me. Everything is back and forth with that piece. And what happens with that is there's no investment into the relationship. There's no investment to the business. There's no long game. It's just about the trade we're gonna do today. The interaction the two of us are gonna have, where you're gonna give me something of value and I'll give you something of value in exchange, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very limiting mindset. I think what we want to do is, and it's really where you give me $1 and value and I'll give you $1 for it, or vice versa. What we want to do is be in transformational relationships where 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, or 1 + 1 = 4 or 5 or 6 or 10. And how we can create a transformational relationship, rather than I used the word before, an abundant relationship rather than a scarce relationship.
Because I love this idea, because you talk about transformation and investing in people, and talk about why best investments, entrepreneurship, business, are in people, as opposed to, those are the best investments.
When people say to me, and I hope it doesn't sound contradictory at all, but when people say to me, my biggest expense is my payroll. My biggest expense is payroll. And so I've said, in my world, there's only two things. There's investments and there's expenses. So if you're an expense, you're always on the chopping block. If you're an investment, as long as I can get at least a 4 or 5 to 1 return on my money or more, I have an unlimited appetite for investment. So if someone says to me, my biggest expense is people or payroll, I say, well, let's fire them all. If they're an expense, let's get rid of them. And they look at me like I'm crazy. And I'll say to them, most people think that they come and they say, I want to grow my business or grow my company. And I think what they realize is you don't really grow a business, Christopher. You grow people. And I think that what entrepreneurs and smart entrepreneurs need to know is that you truly need to invest in people. And it's not just money, it's time. To be able to scale and leverage your business, it's an investment in people. I think that a few people mouth those words and then don't really believe it because they don't get a return the first week. They don't want to invest anymore. And other people just don't get it. They have a different mindset. But ultimately, when you invest and pour into those people over time and you grow them, that's how you grow a business. I mean, for most people, they think because they have a business and they own a business, they think they're entrepreneurs, but they've really bought themselves a job. And I'm very clear with things. There's 2 rules of creating wealth. One is your money must work while you sleep. And the second rule is your business must produce revenue without you performing that task. So if you need to show up every day to execute, and that's the only way your company does business, you've bought yourself a job. You are getting paid for what you do, not what you know. And so what entrepreneurs do is they get paid for what they know.
Yeah, I love that. I had a previous guest say the same thing, is like the business owners, entrepreneurs, they create residual income independent of time, and they can do it through people, systems, processes, could be software, which I think the audience is getting a lot of ahas and insights. Last question about wealth, and then we'll shift to kind of overall harmony, is this, you talk about, most entrepreneurs get it wrong. And what is the most common misconception entrepreneurs have about wealth creation, and how do you create it?
Well, I think they think that just hard work is going to get them there. Or they think that the way they're going to create wealth is by paying off their debt, or by investing in the stock market or something like that. I think that ultimately, the way they're going to create wealth is through focus, discipline, and falling in love with the mundane. And I think it starts with, not only the first thing is, I think you have to protect your confidence if you're an entrepreneur. But the second thing is, I think you shouldn't be afraid to fail. Remember, in our world, there's only learning. There's either success or learning. There's no failure. And I think that, in my mind, I look at failure as just another form of market research. Had I not done these 4 or 5 things that we lost money on, I wouldn't have done these other 2 or 3 things we made tens of millions of dollars on, because you have to put your capital and your time at some risk. And I think that entrepreneurs think that failure is just one step closer to success. You got to be indefatigable. And that doesn't mean you don't listen to common sense. It doesn't mean that you're just, damn the torpedoes kind of thing and make silly decisions. But I think you've got to trust your own gut. And at some point, once you get some good advice, and then take it in and then make your decision. But I think that ultimately that's the piece. The other thing too is what I listen for entrepreneurs is one of the other rules of entrepreneurship is no blaming, no complaining, no excuses. In this world, we live in America. Everybody wants to blame somebody else for their problems. They're complaining about everything. They're making excuses for everybody. I think that's one of the problems we have with our kids is parents. I kind of laugh like when we were growing up. Most of the kids I grew up with were more scared of their mother or their father than they were of the police. They'd rather police put them in jail than go home to tell their parents that they did something wrong. Now it's they do something wrong and our parents are trying to sue the police or sue the school. And I don't think that's been very good. And we're all guilty of it. I have 5 kids, so I'm guilty of it myself. But I try to catch myself some because long term, I don't think I'm doing the kids any favor. You tell me about you. I have not learned nearly as much from success as I have from failure. One of the great lessons in life is to get your ass kicked and then get up. And that's the thing with success. Getting knocked down is just part of the game. All you got to do is get up one more time, then you're knocked down.
Yeah, I love that. And just kind of I interviewed an ex-Navy SEAL, and I listened to David Goggins, kind of just no excuses and just, go out, get out there and, kind of we had this kind of baby culture, and don't take responsibility for your failures. I love this whole conversation. So pulling it all together, I love this idea of talk about we shift from a problem finding mindset to a problem solving mindset. And you always talk about never just solving one problem, but solving 3 or 4. That's quite interesting.
Well, it starts with every time I look at things. I'm a master bridge player. I was a competitive chess player in high school, and so I always think like 13 tricks or 8 moves ahead when I'm there. So I'm saying, well, why would we solve one problem when we could solve 3 or 4? That's not how entrepreneurs think. Part of it is that your mind has to be great. Like, let's pick an example. Somebody breaks up with their boyfriend or girlfriend today, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a proper mourning of that relationship if it was an important relationship to you, or you were the one that got broken up on or something. I'm not saying you should be blow it off. But what I'm also saying is that I think your mindset after a reasonable a mourning period, which could be 2 minutes or 2 weeks or something, is your mind has to go immediately not to mourning on the relationship loss, but to say, hey, what's great about that? What's great about that is that person wasn't the right person for me. And now I have freed up the time necessary to go find the right person that I want to be with. If that was your desire to find somebody, find a relationship or find somebody to be with. And, and ultimately it's always the unintended, consequences in our business. It's the fact that when you think about something, why can't it be good for everybody? Why can't, isn't that the definition of abundance? The definition of abundance is making decisions that I call our class 3 experience. So if you and I were going to do business and we had customers involved, not that we do, but we don't, but the idea is, let's say we did, it's got to be a class 3 experience, Christopher. It's got to be great for our customer first. It's got to be great for you second, then great for me third. Or in our company, I always say it's got to be great for our clients first. It's got to be great for my team second, and then it's got to be great for me third. And if it's a class 3 experience, that's a win-win deal. And so in that mindset is, how do you do something so that everybody benefits from the transaction? That it's not for me to win, you have to lose, or for you to win, I have to lose. How do we design something where both parties can do better together than they can apart? And that often comes by thinking about ways that move or that decision you make affects multiple parties all positively, so that you're solving not one problem, but 3 or 4 at the same time. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you?
Inspired me because I've recently just kind of tried to focus on, problem solving and just kind of, think of all the variables. But it's interesting to keep and then you kind of sit there, but you can actually use that extra mind power to think about problem B, C, and D, and, steps A, B, and C, and kind of, like a chess player, like you were describing, which I really, like I said, the audience is really, loving this material. So kind of ended out with 5 ingredients to a successful life. It's not all about money and wealth, but you have harmony, health, purpose, and love. And so talk about that and incorporating it into your overall strategy.
First of all, I think that if you're truly an entrepreneur, I think people they want wealth, they want health, they want love, they want purpose. I mean, people may want other things or call it something different. And I think ultimately, I think your mindset has to be that eventually I'm going to have them all. I don't have to give up one or two to get something. I don't have to give up my health to get wealth, or I don't have to give up love to not have a purposeful life in my business or something. I think these are limiting mindsets that people are telling themselves stories that are just not true. They're just not true. I would say that ultimately, though, I think an entrepreneur has to be okay with being a little bit of out of balance for some period of time, not decades, but maybe for a few months or a few years, to be able to drive of why they become so special in what they do. Mm-hmm. That I said it before. I think they've got to, whether it be in your life, you've got to have focus, discipline, and falling in love with the mundane. You've got to be willing to do. Like one of the things I say to my partners all the time, I say to my entire team, is I say to them, what are you willing to do that you're not doing now to have what you don't have? What are you willing to do that you're not doing now to have what you don't have? And I think what a lot of people do is they tell me what they'd like, but they will not commit to an action plan necessary to execute what they're asking. They want to give a mediocre or good or even an excellent effort, but they want the results to be elite. And so it's great to talk about that we want the elite results. And I think that's wonderful. And I think everybody should shoot high. But I think ultimately able to then put the action behind that work. And I think you want to help people to do that. And by the way, occasionally some people decide they don't want to be elite. That excellent is good enough, or good is good enough. But to truly be, you can't lie to yourself. You got to tell yourself the truth, and you've got to figure out or get around people that can tell you what it takes to get the desired result.
Fascinating. I love that. If people want to find out more about you and the work that you do, I know you've written a book as well. Kind of talk about
actually
that.
Our third Amazon. If you believe Forbes, we're at the top 100 financial advisors in the country. I was number 3 last year, and so I'm pretty proud of that. So I'm being associated with some good brands. But we're at the Northeast and Sequoia Private Client Group, and people can reach me at that address. We're in Roseland, New Jersey, as our corporate headquarters, although we have a few locations. And I'm, as I said, I just appreciate you, and just want to thank you for taking time, obviously, to see a guy who is as young as you, who has created the abundance in this world. It was an honor for me to be on a podcast with somebody who is my brother from another mother, who thinks in such great abundance and thought, and is giving back to other people. Because I will tell you that, ultimately, my goal in life at this point is I'd like to positively impact the lives of 100 million people. And I know I can do that myself, but directly and indirectly I can do it. And I think people like us have to be able to lead the way and make sure that we've got lots and lots of followers that believe in what we do. Because I think one of the things you want to do is lift all boats, and you want to leave this world in a better place than you found it. So I just appreciate you and appreciate the time you've given me.
Thanks, and for all the audience out there, let's thank Mark for coming on, and be sure to give him a follow and like on all his socials. Check out his book. Will be in the links and show notes. And with that, thanks so much for an inspiring conversation.
Well, you're the man. Thanks, Christopher. Or should I call? Or what do people call you, Doc? What do they call you?
So
Chris. Thanks, Chris.